All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Head in the Clouds with us at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here, joined by Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer, and Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO. And today, we're going to be talking about how to build an elite tech career and the secrets to doing that. We're going to be talking about how to conquer your dreams. We're going to be talking about the preparation that goes in to reaching your goals. We're going to talk about learning the right skills for your goal career, not someone else's. So if you've been paying attention to Mike's LinkedIn the past couple of weeks, you've probably seen these topics about conquering your dreams, winning is all in the mindset, overcoming difficulties and obstacles, and setting proper goals. Well, it's all been leading up to this. We are here to talk about that. So we're going to be talking about how to build a tech career, how to get that tech job with no experience, how to get promoted in tech, and building your tech career. Guess what? All the same secrets that we're going to be sharing are applicable to all of these, everything. So hopefully you are buckled in, you are ready to go. I know I'm ready to go. I know Mike and Alonzo are ready to go. Trust me, it's hard to keep a lid on these guys and keep them from showing their excitement, but I had to calm them down a little bit. But we're here, we're excited. Before I get Mike and Alonzo to say a few words, I want to make sure everybody knows about a few things. So every Thursday we have a How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. It's completely free for you, where we share our method of how to get your first cloud architect job with no experience. It's been tried. It's true. It's tried. It's proven itself over and over again for countless people. You saw some of them at the beginning of the video here. And it's a continuously improved process, but it's pretty much been tried and practiced and true. And there's no reason not to join the webinar. Sorry, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to be saying when we get to the conversation here. I'm excited about this topic. But join us for this webinar. You can register for it in the description or in the chat box. Tyrone from our team is going to be putting that link there. We're going to be talking about the process that we've developed, that Mike has developed, and that has worked for so many others. And then we're going to take your questions. If you've got questions that you want to ask off mute, that's the place to do it. You know, here on YouTube, we're limited to the chat box, 200 characters or less. Gets a little confusing sometimes. So join us on Zoom on Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll be able to talk with you one-on-one and answer all your questions. Next thing I want to make sure everybody is aware about, I've got a couple of guides that I want to make you aware of. We've got the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job guide, in case you don't want to join us on a webinar, and in case you don't want to talk to us in a one-on-one fashion, in case you don't want to be able to ask us questions, you can get the free guide. Now, what I recommend is actually getting the free guide, reading the guide, and then coming with questions and asking us questions at the webinar. Just get a double whammy there. So get that free guide, whether you want to join us on the webinar or not, take advantage of that free guide. And then there's also the Why Tech Skills Aren't Enough guide. That is something critical in today's age. 20 years ago, if you had the tech skills, you were golden. You were set, because nobody could fix anything. Nobody could make anything work. You needed somebody like Mike to come in and fix it all. But now tech skills aren't enough. Majority of the tech works. Now you have to be able to go beyond the tech skills. And get in this free guide, we explain what that extra stuff is, what that beyond is, and what is necessary to be successful in your tech career these days. Other than the tech skills. The tech skills are just a baseline. You've got to add on top of that. And that's what we cover in this free guide for you. So take advantage of those two guides. Join us on the webinar. And we're here to entertain and help at the same time. So Mike, Alonzo, I've talked enough. Got a little disoriented because I was thinking about what I was going to say in 30 minutes. But yeah, what do you guys have to say before we get into the topic?
Well, obviously, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's either accomplishing big dreams and big goals, it's getting to elite careers and skipping all the intermediate steps along the way, because if you can start at the top, why not? And why do some people make it to the top in a year or two where other people struggle for decades. I want you to the top as fast as possible so you have a better life. And how to improve your performance and learning the correct skills. It's every day now where I take care of people that have spent $5,000 and $10,000 on a boot camp, 2 and 3 years, and they can't get to their first cloud architect job because they've learned every skill in the world but cloud architecture. And that's why it's about the right skills. It was the right skills for me when I left internal medicine for tech 25 years ago. But it's all about skills. In fact, 50% of employers right now drop college degree requirements because the colleges in many cases weren't producing the right skills. And they're looking for skills. But what are those skills that employers are looking about? And we'll talk about why mastery of the essential skills is the difference between you getting to the top and struggling your whole life. And we might even talk about learning as opposed to making mistakes along the way today. But these are really important topics. I'm excited to talk about it, how to help you achieve more. I love it. I'm a performance coach. And whether it's physical performance, mental performance, or career performance, that's my world and that's what I love. So, Alonzo, over to you.
Well, my guy, that's a that's a great intro to follow behind, and definitely you underscored a lot of what we want to discuss. I am about performance as well. I really like to see our current clients really excel in everything that they're doing. They could be focused on becoming a cloud network architect, cloud security, or a generalist like myself. But overall, that takes determination and an idea of where you want to be, and that's having the tenacity to become a very much in demand elite cloud architect. And we're going to start addressing what does that mean? How do we get there? What are the ingredients that you need to incorporate within your daily life for your short and long-term goals? So I'm always excited about seeing everyone get to that point and the energy that they have, and with them looking over their shoulder to see what it took to get there. So we definitely want to explain and expound on that for everyone here.
All right. So, and I got a feeling if we talk about the mistakes thing, you might see a difference of opinion between some of us there. So that'll be a fun topic if we get to that. So, all right. So I think a good starting place here is I'm going to pick from one of the things that you posted on LinkedIn recently, Mike, and that was the give me just a second. Let me find my well, I can't find it right now, but I think it was something to the effect of starting at the end, finding out what your goal is, and then figuring it out from there. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So how we innovate or how we conquer our dreams, there's really two approaches. There's the approach that the most successful people take in the world, the innovators make, and the people that achieve the highest results take. And there's the approach that the average person takes. And both are valid, but the key is, where do you get to your goals? Let me tell you what average is first. And I really prefer you not make this mistake. Average is, well, I know networking because I studied networking, and I know internal medicine. So I have to do something in either networking or internal medicine. That's average. That's normal. But that's not the innovator's way. The innovator's way, or the I want to get to my goals way, is really, this is my goal. I want to be an Olympic swimmer, or I want to be an Olympic gymnast. And it doesn't say where my starting point is this is my goal. And then what are the things that I need to achieve that goal? So for example, let's say I wanted to be a physician. I'd go backwards and say, what do I need to be a physician? Well, what do I need to know? I need to know how to practice medicine. I need to know anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd learn these things. Do I need any degree requirements? And I'd go get them. What credentials do I need? And I'd go get them, and poof, I'd be a doctor, if that was the goal. But let's take it to the tech careers, because here's what most people do. I've got these 3 certifications. I've got a certified solution architect associate. I've got a Kubernetes certification, and I've got a, Linux certification. What can I do? Well, they're just certifications. I can't do anything with that. What skills do you have? So I would say, find the goal job that you want. What is that job? Is it a product manager? Well, is it a project manager? Is it an architect? Is it an engineer? And then go find the skills of the architect. For example, the architect skills are stakeholder management, sales skills, negotiation skills, executive presence, CXO relevancy, business acumen, knowledge of digital transformation, knowledge of the network, knowledge of the data center, and knowledge of the cloud, and knowledge of how to put these independent pieces together in a manner that improves business performance. That's the skill list. Now, that skill list we teach in 700 hours, but that's the skill list. And if I wanted to achieve those goals, I'd have to know how to do so, because if I was going to design an architecture and it was a $200 million architecture and I couldn't sell it to the client, there is no architecture. It died in PowerPoint ware. Now, at the same time, as the company says, I'm looking for something to improve our operational efficiency. If I don't have the business acumen to understand what operational efficiency is and look at business architectures and look at business processes, I can't do anything regardless of how good my tech skills. I'm going to give you a few more examples and then I'll get to the point. If I can't work with the organization stakeholders, the people from the technology department, to the frontline workers, to the department heads, and find a way to get all their needs aligned, there is no architecture. There's nothing to be done. And if I can't figure out how to design the systems based upon the business requirements, I can't be an architect. But what do I not need to do there? I don't need to know how to write a Python script, and I will never as an architect. I don't need to know how to bash shell script or a Windows PowerShell script either. I don't need to know how to use Linux on the keyboard, because I won't do that in my job by any stretch of the imagination. I don't need to know how to run a CloudFormation script or a Terraform script either. And quite frankly, I don't even need to know how to click around on the management console, because if there's going to be a proof of concept, I'm going to bring in some engineers to do it. But see, that's the difference. I listed you the exact skills that were needed. And I also told you the exact skills that are not. And that's what separates the two people. The people that find out the exact skills for the role, learn those skills, master those skills, and rise to the top. The people that just say, well, I know a little about Linux, so let me learn to code. Let me get these bunch of certifications. In the end, they apply for the job. They go in an interview and the manager says, come back when you have more experience. Come back when you have more experience means I can't hire you, but I don't want to say I can't hire you, so I'm going to tell you to come back when you have more experience, because it sounds better than you just don't have the skills. And the next day, that same hiring manager will hire someone with zero experience that has the right skills. But that's what I mean by starting with the end goal. How do I design an architecture? What's the end goal of the business? What are they trying to achieve? And then I work backwards to figure out what's necessary to get them there. And it will always be an issue of people, because the people that work for the company are part of it, the processes, how things get done, and then the technology to support those people and processes. So start with the end goal and work backward. If you were going to design a spaceship, the first thing you would figure out is, where does that spaceship need to go? Does it need to go to the moon? Does it need to go to the Mars? Does it need to go to somewhere else? How much time do we have? How fast does that ship need to be? And then after that, we could figure out, capacity and oxygen and fuel tanks and what have you. But if we just started with tech, then we'd have to figure out what can we do with it. And we may build a rocket ship that doesn't do anything. So we always, the innovators, have to start with the end goal in mind. And the most successful people do that. But the average person says, here's where I'm at today. What can I do with it? Now, when I left medicine for tech, I didn't say I know medicine. Can I do tech? I just said, what do I need to learn to be great at tech? Poof, I switched over. So that's the way I would describe it. How about you, Chris or Alonzo?
What do you think, Chris? I'm still composing my thoughts. We can't hear you.
I just got sidetracked by that analogy at the end there. It's like it just started making me think about everything, like all the way to houses. Like, what type of house do I like? If I could do any kind of house, what type of house do I want? Okay, then let's figure out how to do it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Mike with the out of this world example, literally. If I'm gonna build a spaceship, I need to figure out I got to figure out what the end goal of the spaceship is. Is it to get me to the moon? Is it to get me to Mars? Is it to send a satellite beyond our furthest imagination ever?
No.
And if so, how do we do it? But if I don't know what that end goal is, then I can't do anything.
Right.
I just sitting here doggy paddling in the pool, not even going into the deep end, just staying in the shallow end. It's just, and yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what thoughts I had before that, but when he dropped that spaceship example, I was just like, wow, that truly is like, what do I want to be? And this is something I know the three of us talk about this all the time, that there's so many people, even me sometimes, and you guys too. I know that we all grew up in different environments, but even to an extent, everybody forgets that what do you want to do, not what can you do. So many people are conditioned and think, what can I do? And that's the wrong way that's not the right approach. It's what do you want to do? What is it that you desire? Let's do it. Let's figure out what it is. Let's build a game plan and let's do it, because we can do anything. And it's just, again, I know that the three of us, we talk about that regularly, that so many people just don't think that way. And that's one of our biggest things, is to try and get people to get back to that thinking, that it's almost, I don't know if childlike wonder is the right way, but that, as a kid, you can do anything. Like you as a kid, you think you can do anything, but at some point in everybody's life, something happens and it's like, no. And it changes from I can do anything to I can do this. I can only do this. I'm only able to do this. This is what I've done. This is what I can do. And I know that I'm not going to go down there, because trust me, I'm going to go down there in a little bit. But I want to hear what Alonzo has to say about what Mike just talked about the end goal and conquering your dreams.
What comes to mind for me, gentlemen, is that efforts do not equal results. If you just throw it out there and hope it sticks on the wall, why is it sticking on the wall? Did it hit the target that you're looking for? We all need a focused, concerted effort on what we want to do. And that requires us to look at that goal down the road to see what we're looking for. If you want to have this elite career, you got to do stuff in elite ways, and being able to upskill yourself, have the discipline day by day by day, be able to have milestones and benchmarks comparatively on what you're doing and how you're getting there is really, really, it's critical to success. And like Mike said, doing the average stuff, it's like, okay, there's a million grains of rice in that pot. What's the one that's going to help you stick out from the crowd? And if you want to do something, start targeting the things that are in market, that are in demand. Is that your interest, for one? How far do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 6 months, 3 years, 5 years? What is your ultimate goal? So we have to find out how to backtrack ourselves to meeting those needs of not what you want to do, but what people are that people are looking for to fill these voids, to make their businesses, if you will, successful. So what does that look like for your training regimen? What does that look like for your overall networking? Who's in your orbit? How can they help you get there? How have you introduced yourself and shared your interest in where they are? Because these are the people that you're targeting, are the ones that are doing the job that you want to do. So how are they doing it? How did they get there? How are they successful? What are the things that work for them? How did it not work for them? What was the overall equation that they referred to help them get to that point? Now, mind you, that cookie cutter success it doesn't exist, because what worked for them may not work for you. But how can those particular variables work for you to get to where you need to be? And I think that's really important for people to start looking from that peripheral, from that trajectory and from that viewpoint of how you need to get there. It's just very important for, I think people just need to focus on that. And I have a couple of questions I'm trying to hold back on that as well. But I hope people are starting to think right here and right now where you want to be later on down the line. Don't talk about and I know I'm all over the place, but I look at this thought is that, are you dressing for the job you have, or are you dressing for the job you want? That also applies to your thinking, your knowledge, your presentation, your brand, and everything else. So start thinking about that. I don't want to start hypothetically, for anyone who's thinking, it's like, don't think about where you are. Think about where you want to be. Imagine what you're going to have, the options, the accessibility to the people that you don't have right now. What does that look like? How is it going to change your career, your trajectory, your personal life, your community, and so forth? So start focusing on where you want to be. Don't think about right now and where you are today.
Yeah. And I think Alonzo and I both started to go this route. So I'm just going to go ahead and take us there. It's all one of the biggest factors in this is your mindset.
Yeah.
You have to have the right mindset. And one of them is a buzzword, the victor mindset. Okay. That's an example. But, but you truly have to buy into the concept that you can do what you want. And what is it that you want? Once you do that, it opens up all the doors. So, Mike, I want to hand it off to you. Let you run with that. I teed it up for you.
So, Bruce Lee used to talk about things like spelling. And he used to say the brain, the second you tell yourself you can't do something, you can't. Mm-hmm. And he said it's like casting a spell on yourself, and that's why he calls it spelling. I forgot the exact quote, but as a martial artist, I've always been a Bruce Lee fan. The point is, when you tell yourself, I can't do it, you already can't. Because you told yourself you couldn't be successful. And you have to know it. So there's a quote in The Art of War that basically says, win first and then go to war. And what do they mean by that? If you can't see the victory in your mind and you can't see the path to victory to get there, you already lost. You have to be able to see it. You have to feel it. You got to be able to taste it. You got to want it that bad and then prepare to get it.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you can do anything. I remember, for example, I'll go into my CCIE, for example, and you can see it was a long time ago. I got this plaque over here. This is when it was a miserable 2-day exam. I passed it in 2001. And, I'll give you the process. For the average person, and I've got another CCIE that's next to me right now, the cost to pass the exam is $15,000 to $40,000. The average person takes the $1,600 exam 2 to 5 times before they pass it, with 3 or 4 being typical. And here's when I started what the syllabus was. OSPF, BGP, TCP/IP, UDP, and literally speaking, it listed like 50 protocols, but it didn't tell you what you needed to learn, because you know what you needed to learn? All of it, because it was such a narrow exam. So you had to read every Internet Engineering Task Force document and specification. You had to read everything from the IEEE, the electrical engineers that came up with every specification, every WAN specification. And it was about 75,000 pages of reading. And I picked it because a lot of people like tech certifications. This is one that I actually like because, all in all, very few people have passed it. How many? In 30 years, 60,000 people, and figure about 150 take it every day. So 3% pass it. It's not like some other kind of exam. So, when I had that, I looked at it and said, what do I need to learn? And, I told everybody at work, because I had only had a few months experience in actual networking at the time, I said, I'm going to go pass the CCIE. And they said, why are you going to pass the CCIE? And no, you can't. I said, my manager said, if I can pass the CCIE exam, it's going to give him a big service discount. And he told me that if I can pass the CCIE, I'm going to go from this, senior network engineer to whatever kind of principal architect I want to be almost overnight. And in those days, it actually meant that. So I told everybody, I'm going to be a CCIE, but they said, but you have no experience. You need to be working for 8-10 years, really go through these, get it, and then after that, you can take the exam. And I said, that's ridiculous. And everybody said to me, what do you mean, Mike? I said, I got a list of everything I got to learn right here. I said, look, there's about 75,000 pages of reading. They told us what to do. And then it's like, I just got to learn all these things inside of these 75,000 pages. What did I do? I made myself a list. I wrote it all down. And I read something, and as soon as I got something done, I crossed it off my list. I had a big celebration, which meant, I would like deadlift 3 times my body weight for fun until I couldn't walk anymore. That was my reward because I like to lift heavy objects. And I did this every day for 6 months. 6 months later, I took the exam and passed it. And, it seemed ridiculous, but if you have to eat the elephant, you break it down and eat one bite at a time. That's what you do. You break it down into manageable steps. So that's what I did here. I said, this is the end. This is exactly how I'm going to get there. These are all the things I need to do to achieve it. Just do it. And that's the thing at that point. The only thing stopping you is truly your mind. We all have the capability to learn, for the most part, anything we desire. The key is, are we willing? But we can all do it. There's, if there's 1,000 people watching this, I bet you 950 of them could become a physician or an attorney or a cloud architect. Almost everybody can. If they've said, this is what I need to learn. And yes, I can do it to myself. I know I can. I will. And there's that. And then it's there. And actually, I want to talk about I will versus I'll try in about a second, because that's something that always upsets me so badly. The point is all of you, 100% of all of you can do anything you want. All of you. You just have to learn the right skills. And again, it goes back into these two mindsets. And I remember I first saw it when I was in medicine. I had 2 sets of clients that have diabetics that were overweight. Overweight client 1. I need you to undergo this exercise routine. I need you to go meet with this dietitian. And if that doesn't work, we're going to put you on your medication. Okay, Mike, which gym do I need to join? I'm like, look, here's some good people. Here's a trainer I know. Go call him. Here's a nutritionist. Go see him. Then I have another patient. Well, we got to get you to lose weight, stop smoking, exercise. If this doesn't work, we'll put you on medication. If that doesn't work, I'll put you on insulin. I'll try. And I'm like, well, do a little more than try. Do 2 weeks later. And the one person's blood sugar was so good, they didn't need any medication. And the other one needed medication and they got worse. I'll try means I'll fail. And I'll give you the only times you can use I'll try in a minute. But I'll try means I'll fail. Now, here's the times where you can say I'll try. If you're competing in the Olympics against the best of the best in the world, and you want to get that gold medalist, you tell your mind I will, but in the end, you're trying. If you're the CEO of a highly successful business and you're in every country in the world, then everybody knows your name, and then you got a new competitor, and you say I'll beat them, you'll try. But all in all, unless you're like in an Olympic event, unless you're Navy SEALs going against Russian Spetsnaz, for example, the I'll try means I'll fail. You will. Because the I try is non-committal. Once you give your brain an opportunity to weasel out of it, the commitment's over, the fight is gone. So, one of the things I noticed with working with poor people, and I've worked with rich people, and they all get to the same goal. When I've worked with poor people that don't want to be poor anymore, and they take this failure is not an option protocol, and that's how I grew up. I grew up with nothing. And I had big goals. And to me, the only way I'd not achieve those goals is if somebody killed me along the way. That failure was not an option. I had no choice but to succeed. I'll get there. Now, I've also taken rich people, work with them, and they became incredibly richer and had great careers. But I've also seen some people that had all the luxuries and conveniences given to them that find it too easy to say, no, that's pretty hard. And that's why it started about 50, 60 years ago. Bear Stearns, the financial institution, IBM, they basically said, do we hire PhDs or do we hire MBAs? PhDs were poor, smart people with a deep desire to be rich. MBAs were people with good education and a master's in business administration. Both of those companies in those days decided to opt for poor, smart with a deep desire to be rich because those people knew no quitting in them. Then they all went to IBM. They all went to MBAs. I did an MBA. I had to get a lot of education outside my MBA to be okay. And then now the world is like, okay, we don't need degrees anymore. We need people that have skills, and have a mindset that's no quit. So what we're talking about is the same kind of people that make it to the top. Daniel Bosu, our student who got a great cloud architect job, who didn't finish high school, but he's an incredible architect. People like that, or Ivan Tamba, 20-some years old, comes to America with no family, lives in a church, finds a family from the church, and puts himself in school by working full time. and then gets himself his first architect job. You know, these are people that went to uncommon strengths because they knew in their mind they could do it.
I like that. It's something about that desperation. And it's not about the financial desperation. It could be someone desperate to reach their goals, someone who really they're trying to transition themselves from point A, whatever that looks like for them, into point B. And they know that tenacity that they have to focus, because when you don't feel the danger if you're tightrope walking or anything else, when you have that safety net under you, you feel like, oh, well, I'll try again. And that sense of urgency is not there for you. So when you think about what that means about your career, you think about time. Say, for instance, there's a lot of variables that affect you. The desire to take care of your family, that's paramount. Say, for instance, for me, that's very important. Or maybe you feel like there's a financial deadline you have to meet, or you're trying to get out of a certain situation, whether it be in another country that may not have the accessibility or the opportunities that you target for another country you're looking to live in or work in. When you think about that, you know that I got to get this right, because I know what that failure means for me. But having the ability to have that right here, first of all, it's not about, I will have a plan B. What if this doesn't work? I got to try something else. No, there are no options. Either I breathe or I don't. And if I don't breathe, then we understand what the cost is for that. So we have to drive home. We got to think about a plan that we know is going to lead to the best success to get where we need to go in the shortest time possible. I myself, I travel a lot. I've done a lot of traveling. And one of the things that I'm sure Chris or Mike can understand is that layovers stink. No one wants to sit there in an airport with all the noise, with all the people going to and fro, eating the food that you probably don't want to, but considering that there are no other options, you're forced to do specific things that you don't want to do. Whereas having that plan of understanding where that goal is going to be, I need to find that ticket's going to give me a nonstop destination to where I want to be in the place that I love. Say, for instance, me, I love Texas. I love Florida. I don't want to wait until I have to get there with the layover. I want nonstop every day, all day. So I have to plan that, because I know what it means to not get what I want. And it's the same thing that everybody has to apply for their goals. It's like you got to get hungry. You have to be hungry with what you're looking for and satisfy that hunger, or you're going to starve financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever that is. Drive home those skills. Look at what you have to do. Plan it out. Look at, is it going to be a month, 6 months, a year, or whatever? But you got to have that discipline, that drive to keep doing it day in and day out. I don't care if it's in 15 minutes or just an hour a day. Continue to drive home those points, and you'll make it to those goals. Chris?
Yeah, so something that you said there at the end was right along what I was going to talk about. So, you said discipline there at the end, and the discipline that I think you're talking about was the discipline of action, like taking action to reach your goal. So, but also one of the biggest obstacles that anybody encounters with this whole mindset thing is putting that mindset in place. It's not easy. It's not easy to have a mindset of, okay, yes, this sucks right now, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's not easy. That's not an easy mindset to have. Like it's easy to say, yeah, this sucks, I'm going to do something else.
It is. But you know what?
This sucks. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go have a beer with a friend. Or this sucks. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try the next thing. It's so easy to do that. So I wanna, and so this is what I was thinking as the two of you were talking, and then you said discipline, and I'm like, discipline. There we go. So not just the discipline of working towards your goals, but I mean, we got to go all the way back to the discipline of keeping the mindset.
Yeah.
The discipline of sticking to that mindset. Because I can tell you, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. It's I've had some obstacles in my past where it's not easy,
No,
and you just got you got to push through it, and
not a
it takes a lot of discipline to do that. And I know it's easy for me and Mike and or Alonzo to sit up here and say this without sharing. I mean, I know Mike has shared his experiences, but it truly, I say it's difficult, but at the same time, it's easy because it really is as simple as, man, that sucks. I'm going to try again.
And when you're done,
Instead of, man, it sucks, I'm going to do something else. Dang it, I didn't make it. I'm going to try it again.
yeah.
And I'm going to evaluate why I didn't make it. And this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to talk to somebody about it. And what we have here, whether you're one of our students, one of our clients, or whether you just watch us on YouTube and LinkedIn or Facebook and you're not one of our clients, you find you some buddies, find you some accountability partners. You're not going to be successful all by yourself. And even if it's just somebody to reach out to and say, yeah, I messed this up. What are your thoughts? As simple as that.
Yeah.
Find somebody that's going to be honest with you and will hold you accountable or help you hold yourself accountable. But yeah, because it really, really is as simple as changing the script, changing just a few words in the sentence. But you have to have the discipline to do it. And so I'm glad you said the word discipline, because that's one of the biggest obstacles that I see, that I've encountered myself, that I've seen other people encounter, is that I'll try. Okay, that was tough. All right, I'm going to try something else now.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to halfway continue trying this with my foot halfway out the door into something else. And
Yeah.
once that happens, the dream goes out the window. And so you have to have the discipline to stick to that mindset. You've already established your goal. You've already said, here's my end goal. Then from the end goal, you've figured out the plan. Now you just got to keep the mindset. You already got 2 of the 3 pieces. You just got to keep that third piece. That third piece is the mindset.
Yeah.
Goal, plan, mindset. The goal and the plan don't change. There's no subjectiveness to the goal. There's no subjectiveness to the plan. The only thing that is subjective is your mindset. So that's just one thing you got to focus on.
And I want to add a little to what Chris said here, because he hit on something that I loved. When he said, sometimes along the way, it sucks. And here's an expression I have for you from the special operations community. It's the way I live my life. Embrace the suck. When it gets bad, realize it's just pain, which is weakness leaving your body. You're getting stronger. The more pain and discomfort you can tolerate, the more successful you'll be in life. I'll actually give you a story and how it helped me, and then we'll bring it back to the career. Right before I had a disabling injury that left me unable to walk for about 8 years straight, and I have something called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, which is by far the most painful condition in the world. Many people commit suicide from it. I was training some very hardcore martial arts, and they brought in a specialist instructor from overseas, and he taught me something, and it changed my life. He said, we're going to teach you how to live in pain and get comfortable with pain. And the people looked like, what are you kidding me? This guy came in and maced us all with pepper spray in the eyes so we could really suffer. He then stabbed us with stun guns, made us cover up and had martial artists hit us, and then he made us do tasks. And those who made it, and he used to say, embrace the suck. And at the end of the day, you know what I learned? I learned that no matter what, if your mind was willing, you could keep going no matter the amount of pain. And then years later, I got injured to the point where I couldn't walk. And it now takes me 3 hours to be able to walk in the morning. And training how to fight through that pain was there. But you know what? When I worked 2 jobs and went to college, I had that same level of pain. It was just different. After I hurt my foot and couldn't walk, I have that same level of pain. And the reality is that when you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, the growth never stops. I mean, it truly never stops. And if we look at what creates high earners, if we look at what creates highly successful people, we always find ourselves on my favorite macroeconomic supply and demand curve. The harder something is to achieve, the more valuable it'll be because less people are able to do it. So every time I get a headache when I'm learning something that's miserable, I get excited. I get excited because I know 90% of the population will drop out of that headache. And all I've got to do is go on to fight another day. And whether I fight another day for 6 months or I fight another day for 6 years, based upon what the goal is, I know that I will always win if I don't quit. And if I can embrace the discomfort. Now, 17 years ago, I embarked on the practice of practicing yoga every day to see what it was like. And here's what I really assessed yoga was like. Get into an uncomfortable position called an asana or a pose, and learn how to breathe and be comfortable inside of those poses. Well, you can imagine, I thought yoga was pretty impressive. So, of course, I became a 500-hour yoga instructor, which is the highest form of yoga instructor. And I bring in a really great Todd McLaughlin from Native Yoga, best yoga instructor I've ever met, traveling the world to teach our students. Because when you can control your mind, there's your thought. You know, the Buddhists have a term called the monkey mind, where the mind's running off in its own crazy different direction. You can tame your mind. You can do anything. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be comfortable, but where do you want to live your life? I can tell you, I've been on some mountainous tasks and I got 90% of the way there and I had friends that quit. And I'm like, but you're already there. Just fight a little longer. And they're like, I can't take it anymore. Now for the rest of their lives, they had the pain of regret. I kept going, even if it was miserable. And I had pain for a little bit, but I had success and I didn't have a life of regret. I had a lifetime of happiness. So the point is all of us can do anything. We just have to build the right plan, have the right skills, and be able to do what it takes. And it's never going to be comfortable all the time.
Yeah, you hit that. You hit a lot of those points that really resonate with me because I know we've been through similar training and in a lot of different scenarios that would really make a lot of people rethink our sanity. But it's very true. That determination is just so critical. I was looking at some ideas of some discussion points about determination, and there's a picture of this young man, this boy. He could be no more than between 10 and 12 years old, and he's probably in an area in Africa where they, the infrastructure is just not there for lights or sewage. But they found, some electricity in one of the poles in the actual village. I don't even think the majority of the village even has electricity. And this kid is sitting on the side of the road doing his studies for school. If I don't know what determination is, then that example showcases anyone who needs to see this kid he wants to learn. He knows what it means to not have education. He knows that what the alternative is for not reaching his goals. And the case in point, like say, for instance, for cloud architects, if you want to be a principal architect, a chief technical, chief information, or a CEO, it's going to hurt because anything worth having doesn't come easy. But the thing is that your fear of failure, your fear of staying where you are has to be stronger than all the obstacles you face. Let's be honest. Everyone's lazy every once in a while. I don't feel like it. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. 3 years, 4 years down the line, you're still where you want to be because it's comfortable. We're comfortable because we don't have any adversity that's painful enough for us to move off of that X and start doing the things that we want to do for ourselves. So do you want to be comfortable? Or do you want to really start working hard to get where you want? Because true goals or getting or reaching your goals does not mean you get to a point where you're comfortable and cozy and you're feeling good. That's when you you stop living, you stop growing, and you stop getting into that mode where you want to start achieving. Achieving is not a goal, it is a one state of mind, and two, it's a journey. So start thinking about, is where I want to be forever, then quit. Stop doing what you're doing. But if you really want to start achieving these goals of becoming a cloud architect, an enterprise architect, a principal architect, a CIO, a CTO, the growth is going to hurt. I train cramps. You got pulled muscles, maybe even some torn ones, but you got to continue to move forward, because with that type of pain comes growth. Any type of knight in shining armor, I don't want on my team, because they don't have any dents in their armor. They don't have no scrapes. They've never been in any fights. They look brand new. So get into the fight with yourself mentally, however it looks like for you to achieve your goals, and start rolling up your sleeves day by day and start chipping away past the fear, past the laziness, if it applies to you. Because let's be honest, we all get lazy sometimes, or whatever obstacle or whatever wall is in your way, break through that and start getting where you are. And I promise you, you will be grateful and you will be proud of yourself for doing so.
Yeah, I think I'm reading a book right now. See, this is how bad I am. I don't even remember the titles of the books that I read. Give me 1 second.
Well, while he's away, I could definitely say that. I know I've read 3,000 books in my professional career, but there are a few that the names stick out, and the rest are pretty hard to remember.
All right. So I was right. So I'm reading the book right now. The Obstacle is the Way. If it's not difficult, is it worth it?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no difficulty to it, if there's no obstacles to it, if it's just easy, is it worth it? So a lot of so many people encounter an obstacle, and that's where that lack of a strong mindset comes into play.
Yeah.
And allows you to fail, is hitting that obstacle and just immediately falling apart. So, I mean, I would love for us to talk forever about obstacles and adversity and overcoming them, because nothing is easy, especially if you're trying to change your life.
Yeah.
Even if you're just trying to change your life by 1/10 of a degree, it's like a ship. How hard is it to turn a ship? You can't just push it with a finger and turn the ship. Ask the people who saw the iceberg. It wasn't very easy. So trying to make changes in your life and overcoming obstacles in your life, it's not easy. And if anybody told you it was easy, then let's go back to the drawing board and find somebody else to listen to.
Yeah.
But I got lost in my thoughts there for a little bit. I pulled a mic, so I'm just going to stop talking for a minute. I got lost in my thoughts because I started thinking about the book I'm reading, and anyway. So Alonzo, I know you said that you all right. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Ksenia says, I felt like I needed to hear all this. I'm not serious with my course at all. Just pure laziness. I need to overcome it. Boom! That is half the battle. You just called yourself out for your BS.
Yes. Yes.
We have to be honest with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Sorry, that caught my attention. I was like,
you know what? That's still a good mindset that Ken has.
Yes, that is a great mindset.
And I want to talk about why it's a healthy mindset. I realize that I'm not doing what I need, and I need to overcome that. That's a winner's mindset. Kenzie will be successful once Kenzie does what needs to be done. Here's the non-successful mindset. Well, I didn't do the work, so it's somebody else's fault. I gotta tell you.
Or I didn't do the work because it's hard.
Yep.
I didn't do the work because it wasn't easy for me to find it. I didn't do the work because I didn't understand the instructions. I didn't do the work because it was at the wrong time for me.
Yeah, that's the scary mindset.
Sorry, I'm just coming out with ones that I've seen throughout my life.
You've seen them, and I've seen it everything from the patient that, was 400 pounds overweight, that you put on medications that said you're going to have to stop smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. You're going to have to stop doing this or you will die. And then they die and it's their doctor's fault. Thankfully, it never happened to me, but I've seen it happen to colleagues versus other people that were like, wait, I listened to the doctor's advice and look how good I feel now. So, there's two ways, but, that's why people go to physicians for medical care, not YouTube. It's that expertise that takes that many years to develop to be able to know what's wrong and what's going on. And expertise takes at least 10,000 hours in a small area. Meaning if I was a software engineer for 2 years, a cloud engineer for 1 year, I'm not an expert on the cloud. I'm not an expert in software either. If I've done nothing other than cloud migrations for 5 years, you could be an expert on cloud migrations after 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not, depending upon the person's speed. But it takes at least 10,000 hours doing just one small thing to be an expert. Yeah. But how hard is it to find an expert? Mm-hmm. Why are experts paid so much more as a rule? Again, it's the diligence. So, the harder it is, and going back to one example, companies like Cisco might have 20 interviews for a position. 20 different interviews, especially if it's a senior position. Other companies have 2 or 3. When you're at Cisco, do you know how good those people are that survive those 20 interviews? They're really good, but it's more than that. If a company does 20 interviews, they're trying to self-select the weak people and make them quit already. Why would they do it? They want you to quit. They only want the best. Navy SEALs have a special forces selection called BUDS. Like 200 people start and 20 people graduate. They try to make the people quit because they don't want them on the elite team. The best jobs out there, they do the same thing with the interviews. They just interview, Mike, I need you to fly to London. I need you to fly to San Francisco. Mike, go to New York. Mike, go to Sao Paulo. Mike, go to Paris. These could all be interviews for the same job. Airplanes, not even video. And they want to do it to see if you're going to quit. They're trying to see if you've got that fight in you. So when people see these things, there's always a much deeper meaning. What you see in front of you is not typically what's going through the thought of the leader's mind to put it together. And I like to say, be thankful for difficult things, because they're the ones that most people won't do, which is why they pay more or get you more respect or give you more pay and more respect, because most people won't do it.
Mm-hmm. And I know I like analogies and I like metaphors and things of that nature. And let's look at it realistically, gentlemen. It's like we're all going about our business every day, and whether it be a grocery store or whatever errand you need to run, you can come across a random penny on the floor every day of the week. Anywhere. You can find them left over in the change drawer of grocery stores or whatever you need to do. Why? Because not only do you see them often, but they don't incur a lot of value. How many times do you see $100 bill just randomly blowing in the breeze in the corner? You don't see that at all. And if you do come across it, 2 things are going to happen. 1, you're probably never going to see it again. And 2, because that value, the person that lost it is regretting that they've lost it. And the person that found it is going to be thanking their lucky stars that they do find it. Now plug yourself into being that $100 bill. It's got value because people have put that value into it, as well as you put into yourself with the training. You're in high demand. Okay. You're rare to find. And that person that doesn't appreciate you in that organization will regret having to lose you because you went on to pursue greater heights, or they didn't appreciate your value, and the person that hired you is going to be thanking their lucky stars that they have such a qualified, competent, capable, and experienced cloud architect, principal architect, or what have you. I'm saying all this to say that don't be average. I know this is a lot of hard medicine that you all are taking in, and kudos for you even staying here, because a lot of people don't want to hear the reality of what it takes to become elite. They go away because it's not what they want. It's not easy. I'm not telling them what they want to hear. And those are, unfortunately, the people that will not become elite architects or elite anything, because they're not willing to take on the hard stuff. They're not willing to face their internal challenges of what it takes mentally and actionable things that they have to commit to themselves. And they're not willing to do the work. But those who are, they're willing to roll up their sleeves. You got to understand that for these elite jobs that Mike tells and talks about week in and week out, 3, 4, 5, and he even showed earlier this year, $800,000 positions that they also, not only are they advertising it, but they're jobs that people are getting these on at Netflix, they're getting at OpenAI, because they're learning the things that people don't know and don't want to know. They want other people to do that because it's too hard, too challenging, too arcane, or rare to know. These are the positions you can be in today by learning the stuff that people don't know. Know the rare stuff. Don't be the common folk. Learn the rare stuff, and that takes time. It takes dedication, finding the people who know the work, being able to roll up your sleeves, start doing the stuff. People, I'm telling you, the money is out there. The opportunity is out there. The positions are out there. They just need to find the right people. And through this determination, focus on that. Keep pushing. People who are our clients of ours, get into do your work, because the program works if you do. Talk to the people who matriculated out of the program. Talk about how they got there, how they reached these heights. The people who are in there today that have not gotten their jobs yet, start doing the work. Surround yourself with hard workers, because unfortunately we know that there are people who have taken on the task of becoming a cloud architect, but maybe they've kind of dragged along. Maybe they've gotten in the habit of not doing the work. Wake yourselves up, okay? Wake yourselves up, get the job done, because you already know what life is looking like for you. If you like it and you're comfortable and you want to lean back and coast some more, that's on you. But your dreams, get a vision board out on the things that you want to achieve for yourself. Get a vision board out for the life you want to have for yourself, for your family, for your kids. What does that look like? And what do you need to, what needs to happen for you to get there? And I tell you, that wakes me up every day to get me hyped and excited about what I want to do for my family and for myself. You need to have that type of attitude every second of every day. There's things that I want to watch on TV or places I want to go. I need to stay focused. I need to help build this company. I need to focus on how these students need to get the things that they need to be successful. And the things that Mike, Chris, and I see all the time about the tears, the laughter, the pure joy that everyone has when they achieve their goals, I take pride in that. Chris, Mike does as well. So I know I've done a whole lot of talking, gentlemen. I want to pass the baton, but people needed to hear, and I think it was just very important.
I want to I just want to address real quickly the difference between working smart and working hard. It's not an either or, you need to do both. But if you just work hard without working smart, you're probably not going to get there. So you have to work smart and hard. Here's an example. Let's say I wanted to learn SD-WAN. I could, quite frankly, spend the next 6 months and dive deep into SD-WAN. Or I could pay an SD-WAN expert for a couple of hours to teach me the main points, and then I could follow up on the work they gave me. One might take me 6 months, the other might take me 30 days. So some degree when we're dealing with successful people is how they spend their money. Less successful people to spend the money on comfort. fancy clothes, fancy toys, fancy vacations, fancy restaurants. More successful people typically focus on investment, investing on education for their career, investing in paying off debt, investing in whatever, but something that's more productive, whether it be their real estate empire, whether it be their 401k, whether it be their education, whether it be their professional development, but they invest in themselves. And again, it's going from pleasure to, well, I worked hard and what did I get? I got an MBA instead of that trip to Jamaica for a month in the president's suite. They both cost the same, but which one provides more value for the person long term? And that's something I want people to think about.
I want to come back to that in a second, but I did want to talk about. So Alonzo said something about tears and laughter and smiles when they accomplish their goals, but I wanted to talk about the tears that are going to come while you're working towards your goals.
Very much so.
They will come. The head-pounding headaches will come. The hunger pains will come. All of it will come as you're working towards your goals. I'm going to continue to be the one to come back and say that this is not going to be easy. Whatever this is, whatever your goal is, it's not easy. In some way, shape, or form, there's going to be difficulty. It's not going to be sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops all the time. If you're starting from scratch to become a cloud architect, it's not going to be easy. You're going to encounter things that you don't understand. And you're going to study and read and watch videos and come to class, and you're going to be like, I don't get it.
But you will.
You will, but it's important. But it's just important to remember that that's part of it. The difficulty is part of it, and part of the process is figuring out how to overcome the obstacle. You know, maybe for all the resources that we provide you and in the program, maybe there's this one thing that is just not clicking from what we have to provide. Maybe there's this one thing that it's just, you know, the way that we're presenting it, maybe it's not clicking. Figure out how to make it click. Figure out how to make this figure out how to get to the nut of this concept. Reach out to people. Ask people questions. Like, find out how others figured it out. Because you're not the first person to encounter whatever this thing is that you can't understand. You're not the first person to encounter this obstacle. Others have encountered it. Reach out to people. Use your resources. Every single resource that's at your disposal to overcome the obstacles. And but yeah, so Alonzo talked about the tears and the smiles and the laughter of reaching your goals. I wanted to talk again. I wanted to be the Debbie Downer about the reality of the tears that come along the way. But those same tears of difficulty is what makes it so much better when you reach your goal.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I've done it both ways. I did work 2 full-time jobs to support my family as a paramedic at 2 different squads, full-time, each one. 3 to 11 and 11 to 7. And I even had a part-time job on top of that, trying to support my family on extra weekends. That's pain. And it's pain every day. And despite working over 90 hours a week, at the end of the day, when you try to basically say, we don't have any money left, that's pain. And, you know, it might be more intense pain for a year to really study to get you to your perfect goal and perfect dream. But then you don't have 2 jobs. Now you have 1 job, and you've got financial success, and you've got financial freedom. And now it's like money doesn't get in the way of your thinking anymore. You just buy what you need and save the rest. It doesn't become part of you. It's like, all right, the resources are here. Now, what do I really want in life, and what do I achieve, and how do I work and get that? And that's a better fight for me than having that second job and that part-time job on the top of my 2 jobs and still being able to say, look, you know, what's the generic vegetables we can buy at the supermarket this week? It's not a position I want to go back to if I don't have to. I've been there. I get it. And I'm not ashamed to say I came from it. It taught me character. It taught me how to work. It taught me will, and it taught me never to want to be there again. That frustration, that anger, when normally people would be depressed, and I looked at it and said, can I be depressed about this, or am I going to conquer something? I went, let me conquer a dream versus live with long-term, lifelong depression and struggle. Everything is hard. It's just we choose to invest the hardness in yourself, or just choose to accept the world coming at you being hard. It's going to be hard either way, but how do you take it? To me, that's the issue. I'd rather bet on me. I'd rather work hard. I'd rather fight something to get to my goal than just let the world fight me.
So I'm risking getting on my soapbox here. So Mike talked about investment earlier, and Mike was talking about financial investment. But there's other forms of investment.
Oh, yeah.
The most precious investment is your time. And I want to take a moment to really talk about the investment of your time and your attention towards reaching your goals. There's a very long episode of Head in the Clouds where we break down the data of how much time people spend on all kind, like just everything, whether it's TV, internet, social media. I'm not going to go into that, but I will say, basically, it boils down to somehow the average person spends 6 to 8 hours a day doing BS on whether TV, internet, and social media. How people accomplish that, I don't understand. Like, I truly don't understand how people accomplish that much wasted time. It blows my mind. So I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about investment of your time in things that will benefit you and help you reach your goal. As part of our programs, we have the building your plan, and we break it down by day, week, by week, monthly, by month, boom, here's your plan. And one of my biggest things is that if you've got a goal and you've got a plan, then you have to get as minute detail as possible in accounting for your work towards that goal. So many people make a mistake of, I'm going to study 2 hours a week. Oh, great. Well, there's 168 hours in a week. Where are you going to fit those 2 hours in? That's a big window of opportunity. That's a really big window of opportunity for you to fail at doing 2 hours a week. Because when you say, I'm going to do 2 out of 168, that's not even 2% of your week. You leave it up for you to fail. You give yourself a big window of opportunity. You say, I'm going to do 10 hours a month. That's even worse. So many people have these big scales and use these big scales to do their plans. That is not going to cut it. If you've got a goal and you've got a plan, then you need to get down to the day. At the very least, you need to get down to the day of how much you're going to do in a day. At the very least. I would argue you do it by 8-hour increments. All right, how many am I going to do in this 8-hour increment? Now, that might be taking it a little too far. So that's why I say, at least on a daily basis, you need to hold yourself accountable to this amount per day.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Because the more opportunity you give for you to drive a ship through your plan, the more likely you're going to drive a ship through your plan and blow it up. The smaller that window of opportunity, the smaller the likelihood that you're not going to stick to your plan.
Yep.
And if you don't stick to your plan, guess what? You didn't stick to it for that one day. It's already the next day. Now let's get back to it. So, if if you've got your plan and you break it down in increments like that, and it just minimizes your loss of investment or your loss of potential investment. So I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to get on my soapbox for a minute there and talk about the investment of your time, because, I'm just being real out here. Money is not a finite resource.
Nope.
Time is a finite resource. So if we're talking investments, I want to talk about time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm off the soapbox. I'll let you guys say anything you might want
we
to say.
got a lot of soapboxes today, which is cool. We need that. You having that realistic approach and how you're able to break it down is very much like the architecture, cloud architects you want to be. That those details matter, and being able to plan that the way you would plan that architecture and how it looks. We're teaching things not only in life skills, but in how you approach your career, but actually how you're going to be doing your career and working in it day by day. So, like Chris said, just don't say I'm going to do 2 hours this week. Okay, well, where is that 2 hours going to sit? Is it going to be in the morning? Going to be in the afternoon? Is it going to be on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays? Or is it going to be on Mondays, Sundays, and Saturdays? How does that look like for your schedule? Because with me, both these guys know how my kids are. So, like if I was have to study and do something like that, I would have to be very, very about how I plan my work. It would have to be after the kids are done with their sleep. If my son sleep or my daughter doesn't need any assistance with her college studies, it'd have to work around that. So, but overall, look at your game plan, because number one, it starts in the mind. Two, start getting excited about your career. Get excited about what you're going to be doing. How, the excitement of how I share with my wife or I share with people about cloud architecture and what it does and how it influences and changes people's lives. I love to get excited about that. So start getting excited about how this plan is going to help you get to your career. We got tons of soapboxes. I struggle to stay off of mine. But it's important that people start thinking about their community, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, being able to start getting an understand, demonstrate, and communicate about how this technology is going to not only change your personal orbit, but the orbit of the people that you want to work with, the companies that you want to work for, the innovations that are coming out, say, for instance, with generative AI, the ideas and applications that can people get put forth about, how these can change your day-to-day life for consumers, your personal life, or the benefit of an organization. How does that look? And if it's getting you excited, then let's put that in plan form so that you can actually start doing this for organizations, applying what you're learning at Go Cloud Careers, applying what you've already learned, and being able to incrementally put those in the motion. Because how easy is it for us to, okay, one more episode on Netflix. Let's go and flick around a few more minutes on Instagram. Let's see what my friends are doing on this video game. And is it helping you improve your life?
Yeah.
Is it helping you improve the life of the people around you? Are you getting paid for it? Or are you helping other people get paid because you're spending more time on these games, more time scrolling and clicking? Every time you get a click, somebody's getting paid. But you're losing. Yeah, you're losing time, which is something you can't get back. You can gain money, you can lose money. You can gain real estate, you can lose real estate. But every time you waste on time, you're never getting that back again, no matter how hard you try or what amount of money that you have in your pockets. It could be 1 0, no zeros, or 13 zeros behind that initial digit, but you can't get time back. So how are you spending it? Spending it by learning the craft. Get good at what you're not good at. Fill in those trouble spots. Talk about what your strengths are, your weaknesses are. How are you leveraging your opportunities? What are the threats to you getting to your goals? Look at that every single day, because it comes internally in your doubts and in your mind, or if it comes externally with things that pop up and you don't account for that. If it takes up your time today, get ready to study later on at night or tomorrow. It may not be as much, but like I tell people, all the small slices of bread eventually make loaves.
Yeah.
So start focusing and doing the work, people. You know, we can't stress it enough. There is so much out there that you guys could not believe that will afford you these opportunities for you to, you're meeting with clients at expensive restaurants, you're golfing and doing business at the same time, you're meeting influential people you never thought you could, and they're relying on you to do the work because they can't, and they're willing to pay you tremendous amounts of money for doing something you already love to do. But that will not happen if you don't do the work, if you don't sacrifice. Don't be that person. And it takes a bit of maturity and discipline to not get that easy feeling that you want of satisfaction, you know, that microwave victory. Push it to the side. Keep adding and accruing those victories so it gets you to where you want to be, so that you can ultimately celebrate for that huge win, not those small little victories that really don't amount to anything. Okay. So start thinking about that and planning forward for your future.
Yeah, and that's really a good point. That extra hour of TV, not going to help you. Those TikTok videos of people goofy dancing around in a circle, it's keeping your brain from learning things that are of value.
Yeah.
The Instagram picture of the upside down cat, I promise you, it was a waste of your time. I love cats. Believe me, I love cats. I allow myself 3 minutes of Penny the Cat videos, Penny the Talking Cat. And my brother and my wife send me 3 minutes of the cat shorts each day because I love cats. But the point is, you keep it to 3 minutes. While my favorite music is reggae, I might listen to an audiobook versus reggae half of the time, and only Bob Marley 50% of the time. There's always the time. We all have the time. The key is how we choose to spend our time.
Yeah. There was something, so Ksenia said something in here in the chat box I wanted to talk about. She said, he or she, I'm sorry, I'm not sure which one it is. I am on the live classes for now, and I try to give it 2 hours a day, but I believe I can do more. And when I do, I just don't have consistency after. So that's something I wanted to talk about. So, and this is something that I'll always have to talk with Mike and Alonso about this. It's like, look, I know we got all these big ideas. Let's just try small. Let's do small, and then we grow from there. So the same concept with your development plan. It's nice and everything to have this big grand plan with all these blocks allocated and everything. But maybe you start simple. Alonso said, all these pieces of bread make a loaf or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great if we can start off with a loaf of bread, but maybe we're just starting. Maybe we don't have the discipline yet. Maybe we haven't developed the discipline in our lives to be able to hold ourselves accountable yet. Maybe we need to start small with, okay, here's my plan. And I feel comfortable committing to this. If I can commit to this and successfully do this for a period of time, then I'm going to add this into it. Because just like the whole eating the elephant thing, don't try to do it all at once. It's the same thing with trying to set out this big battle plan and you haven't even had a fight yet. Like you can have a big battle plan. Like, guarantee you, World War II, they weren't just drawing up these big old battle plans all the way to the end. No, they had to figure out the fight. The whole reason they went into North Africa, the Allies went into North Africa, was to figure out how the Germans fought. They didn't go straight on to the Germans first. They went into North Africa and figured out how to fight them where it really didn't matter. They already lost Europe. So they said, we're going to go figure it out somewhere else, and then we'll make a big grand plan. Same thing. Put together small pieces that you can accomplish and then add to it. Because if you try to do something too big, too fast, there's that obstacle. There's that, oh, crap, I can't do this. Oh, no. You start off with something achievable, and then you add to it. I can do X, Y, Z. I know I can do this. Not I think I can do this. Like, we're going to start with something that you know you can do and do it. And add to it. And then it's, I know I can do this and this. And then you do it, and then you add to it. And now, but before you know it, you got 5 days of development. Today I'm going to do 2 hours. Tomorrow I'm going to do 30 minutes. And the next day I'm going to do 2 more hours because I got kids soccer practice on this day. So I can only do 30 minutes. And I got nothing on this day. So I can do 2 hours. But we're going to start off with one piece and then we're going to keep adding to it. So I wanted to put that in there because that's another thing that I've seen a lot is that people will put together these beautiful plans, but they're so full that there's so many opportunities for failure at the beginning.
Yep.
I want to hear what thoughts you two might have about that, because I just, my perspective is if you haven't done it and you put together this big plan, you just introduced multiple opportunities for failure and excuse. And
I mean, I always start with the list of requirements first, no matter what it is, and then work backwards. Now, I think you've got to figure out what you can do before you build that actual plan.
mm-hmm.
So if I know I need to accomplish these 46 different things, I want to put them in order, because first there might be one thing that needs to occur before something else. So the first thing I know I need to do is order my plan. And then I try to do the first thing and get a timeline. How long is this going to take me to accomplish each step? And then beyond that, then I keep moving forward and things like that. So yes, you can't build the entire plan until you know you're successful. That's the equivalent of the 20-year-old life coach. It's the equivalent of the Udemy AWS instructors that have never had a cloud job in their entire life, but they're going to be prepared to teach people things. And, it's the same kind of concept. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't do what you don't know. And when you don't know what you don't know, you got to take a step along the way and try and figure it out before you can build the ultimate plan. So, yeah, I completely agree with you.
There's a saying that I heard a lot. I multiple people have claimed this, but it's really simplistic. Plan your work and work your plan. Okay. So think about what you want and plan it and then work it, crops, and it's a great analogy is that the best crops are going to have both sunshine and rain. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. You're going to have your victories. You're going to have your defeats, but it continually grows you into the person you need to be. Okay. If it's too easy, you're not going to be strong enough to handle those bad days. If it's too hard, then you're not going to be able to appreciate the good times that come forth. And this is along your journey as well. This seasons who you are, so that when you come across these challenges, and I know you will be cloud architects across different definitions of what we train you to be, you're going to be able to handle it. You're going to be able to come forth, rally the troops, face those challenges. Something happens, you're going to be able to have the fortitude to move on, be able to adapt and change, be fluid. Like Bruce Lee says, you got to become water. You got to adjust to everything. And that happens before you get to those goals. And you're going to appreciate it even more so, everyone. So just continue to, and I think one of the things that just popped up in my mind is that when you're not, and it's said a lot in the thread, that when you're not motivated, when you're feeling bad, when you're feeling tired and feeling lazy, I think that's your journey's way of testing you to see how bad you really want it.
Yes, it is. But I'm going to touch on that. The key is, why are you doing this thing in the first place?
Very true, Mike.
And, for me, my team will tell you they have to get me to stop working, because I typically would start at 7 and work till midnight if somebody didn't tell me not to, until I'd be so sick that I couldn't work for a month. But that's my natural gain. I'd lose my voice from talking so much, which has happened. But, my why is very serious. I want to help people get to their goals. I want to take care of all those people that bought all these boot camps that learned irrelevant skills. And I feel so bad. I want to get them to their goals. So, for me, I have to help people get to their goals. I started off with nothing. I struggled for everything. I was told I couldn't achieve anything by anybody. And then I went and accomplished every single thing that I ever desired to do. And I want others to know that joy. I want others to be told, you can't do that, just like I was. I want them to know they can do anything. There's no rules. None. Who says you have to do this? Just go do whatever you want. Break the mold. Don't be like everyone else. If I can tell you, average struggles. Don't be average. Be elite. Be the best. Be that top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. I promise you, you'll be much happier than if you're struggling like 95% of the population. And that's the key, is you can all do it. But you got to believe in you. It all falls back on you. If my team doesn't execute, it's my fault. I'm the team lead. If Alonzo says something and hurts somebody's feelings, it's my fault. He wouldn't, but you get the point. You got to own it, and you got to hold yourself accountable. And if your why is strong enough, I remember at our conference, and I remember listening to Yvonne speak. You know, there were two people that I said that I wish were my own kids, and Yvonne was one of them. Yvonne talked about when he was living in Africa, how he moved these big, giant, heavy cement stones from truck to truck, or from pallet to truck. And he said he got paid $8.72 a day. This is a guy that's working 8-10 hours days, lifting heavy.
He got paid $2. $2.
$2. Okay, even worse. He didn't ever want to be in that situation ever again. I mean, Yvonne did everything. He left his country at 15 years old, found a family from the church to go live with in America, worked a full-time job and paid for his college tuition, took our course. While he's in our course, he's working full-time as a waiter, and he's listening to our courses while he's in like a bus or a train going back and forth his 90-minute commute, and he did it. You know, what's he going to be at 30, this guy? CEO of a big company? Or at least CIO? I mean, because the guy's why is so strong. And that key is why. What motivates you? I know I don't want to go back to that place. I have to do 3 hours of hardcore, intense exercise, or I can't walk anymore after my injury. It's a pretty strong why to make me want to do 3 hours of exercise each day, 90 minutes of yoga in the morning, stretch for 60 minutes in a 160-degree room. It's a pretty strong why. I want to be able to get up and down the stairs in my house and sit in a chair. No matter how bad it hurts, I'm going to do it because my why is strong enough. So make sure there's a reason you're doing something. What is it? And why do you care?
All right. So do you guys want to get to some of these questions in the chat box?
Yeah, I definitely want to jump on Emperor Carol's question about self-sabotage, if you don't mind.
I'm gonna start with that one. So yeah, Emperor Kiro says, "Hey, I was wondering if you guys have any advice for self-sabotage of career."
Yeah, don't. Yeah. But seriously, most people actually are their own worst enemies. Mm-hmm. They believe in the I can't. They believe in the it's too hard. And honestly, some people that I've worked with are actually just afraid for success. They get 90% of that percent there, and they doubt themselves, and they just don't finish. And I got to tell you, that's the saddest, most frustrating thing in the world for me. The key is just know why, build yourself a plan, and tell yourself and your mind, failure is just not an option. I cannot fail. I must succeed. And I wouldn't even say I cannot fail because the brain isn't going to process the not there. I would just say I must succeed. And I will do anything what it takes. And then focus your mind. You may notice martial arts, some have these little kata things that are moving around. That's a moving meditation. You ever see a gymnast prior to routine? They're practicing the routine in their head. And they can see it and they can feel the transition. Their body's just going along for the journey. Win first and then go to war. Visualize it. See it. I remember when I used to do these heavy powerlifting kind of crazy things in my youth. And, you know, I had to think about who's going to do a 700-pound deadlift. Everybody else would be like, I got it. And I'd plan ahead of time. I'd plan on the thing and I'd think about it and I'd say and imagine in my mind, what's that weight going to feel like? All right, this thing's going to be pretty hard. How much is it going to hurt to move it? Get past the hurt. Okay, there's another sticking point and it hurts. Get past, and lift the thing. And then I would lift it, and it wouldn't be anywhere near as heavy if I just jumped up to the thing and tried to lift it. You have to win in your mind. So you got to believe it. You got to see it. If you can't see the victory, you're not going to get there. You have to understand it and know you can do it.
Yeah. And I wonder, I guess it's always that why for me, Mike and Chris. Why are you sabotaging yourself? And I'm going to dare say it. What are you afraid of?
Mhm.
What is holding you back from that success? You know, some people say it's easier to be with the devil you know than the one you don't. So you have your, it's all in the mind. You feel some sort of way about where you are in the fear of success, like Mike was talking about, or maybe the fear of getting there, all for it to be taken away. So you have to ask yourself, Emperor Carol, what are you afraid of? Why are you sabotaging yourself to stay where you are when you don't want to be there? That conundrum makes no sense, but it only makes sense for you. Okay, so you have to, your desire to succeed has to be stronger than your fear of failure. Everyone may have setbacks, but you staying there and giving up is the failure. We never fail, we learn. We learn about that experience. But you have to know what you're afraid of first. You have to face that head on and you have to put that behind you because everyone has failed, made mistakes, has done things that fall short of where you want to be. Never stay where you are. Get up, dust yourself off. You know, if you fall down 7, get up 8, 9, 10, 11. Never quit and never give up on yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to argue that is it possible that every form of sabotage in your career is actually self-sabotage in some way, shape, or form? Is it something that you did? Is it something that you've thought? Is it something that you've made happen? I'm just throwing this out there. You know, in your subconscious, the not believing in your capability, not believing that you have the strength to do something or make the right decision or XYZ or ABC. You know, that's kind of a mindset that I've got is that at least when I look back on my career, anything that didn't go right, pretty sure it all tied back to something that I did and something that I put into motion, something that I put into play. And so going back to that mindset that we spent a lot of time talking about earlier, having the right mindset about everything, not just developing in your career and reaching your goals, but just having the right mindset in every action that you take during your career is going to mitigate those opportunities for self-sabotage. So that's my 2 cents on the self-sabotage part. But thank you for that question. So I'm going to go back to a question at the beginning, not directly related to the content, but I just want to bring it up. You can speak to it quickly, Mike, if you'd like. Applied as a security architect at Epic Systems, but they have a test. Is that normal?
Well, I mean, let's look at what Epic is. They're an electronic healthcare vendor. So their architects are going to be a lot different in general than the ones that would work at a Microsoft, a Cisco, etc. And here's the reason why. They don't have the budget as a small healthcare electronic health records company that a big tech company would. Plus, they're in a highly legislative industry. So they're going to try and whittle down the people through tests instead of paying a recruiter like a bigger business would do to find the position. So is it normal to have a test? It depends on what kind of test. Organizations have given me tests, but they're usually personality tests, they're usually IQ tests, and occasionally there is a competency test, but generally speaking, not as an architect. Because, you know, I can ask somebody simple questions. And they're meaningless knowledge. What is AWS S3? Block storage, object storage, or file storage? And if you can remember that, the answer, there's a check. But typically they don't do this for architecture jobs because an architect isn't about being able to answer a multiple choice question. It might be, for example, all right, I might need to connect to 8 internet service providers for optimal routing. How do I do this? How do I load share? How do I avoid loops? How do I make sure my traffic goes in and out in and out in a manner without out of order packets? Now, what I just asked that question, it sounds simple, but you have to have deep understanding of routing and BGP and internet routing architectures to even think about that. And those are the kind of questions we typically ask an architect. Somebody came into class and said, how do you install a SaaS application was an answer was given. And it's like, wait, how do I install it as an architect? And it's first, do you need to install the SaaS application? Because most of them are just web-based and you don't need to do it. And how would you install Zoom on 100,000 computers? Well, in most cases, that person goes to the website and they click install now. So, the key is they were asking way deeper than the questions for an architect of what it is. How would you design this? The organization's about weighted average cost of capital is this. How do you calculate that in whether you should build a private cloud versus using a public cloud? And it assumes that a person understands, finance, and it understands cost calculations and can do things. So that's not typically going to be an architect question if they give you a little thing there, unless it's a personality test, unless it's an IQ test, unless it's a leadership test, unless it's then that would be pretty common.
All right, so here's one from Freedom Lands. How do I determine my learning curve?
I don't know what that means. Learning curve for what?
Yeah.
So I don't know how to answer it.
I'm not sure either. I was hoping that someone else might.
Yeah,
So-
I guess, would you recommend remote? Okay, I think from the learning curve piece, from my perspective, you can only determine how fast you can learn something. What is your learning style? Do you learn visually, verbally, written form? How do you learn and how do you ingest this information? How fast can you ingest it? What's your interest? Do you learn more? Are you able to ingest things that you're interested in? Or are you stubborn or recalcitrant against things that you don't really know? And by subliminally, you don't really want to learn it. I mean, these are a lot of factors that only you would know internally. And this is just from my perspective on that learning curve question. But Freedom Lands, your next question would be, would you recommend remote or in office as a first-time cloud architect job?
I recommend whoever will hire you as your first cloud architect job. And it's a first job. You got to remember the average solution architect, cloud architect is earning $237,000 now, which is over $900 a day. You're not going to have 1,000 people that are offering you the first job. You're going to have to, and I don't know your background. So if your background is you have no experience, and this is your first tech job, which it is for a lot of our people, you're going to have to find someone that wants to interview you, which that's easy to do. We're good at that. Then you're going to have to develop the right skills. We're good at that. And then you're going to have to deal with what I'd say the 1 out of every 3 managers that's willing to hire somebody without experience. Because some people will only hire you when you have experience. And about 1 out of 3 will hire you if you're competent. And they don't care whether you have experience or not. And that's really the key. So now you've got to get a job and you've got to go the 1 out of 3 of the people that are there. So I don't like to be that selective on where I take my first job. I want to get my first job, do great with my first job, and be done with it. And either love it or a year later go somewhere else and where I go the next time, make it the perfect job for me. There is no such thing as an office-based cloud architect job or a remote cloud architect job. You're going to be meeting with clients. Sometimes you're going to be flying to them, driving to them, and that's sometimes you can do it over the internet, but you're going to be physically meeting with clients. You're going to be buying lunches and dinners and drinks. There's going to be days where you have to go to the corporate office to do an executive briefing. And it may not be your local office. It might be an office in Silicon Valley, for example. But the point is, get your first job, get the right skills, and be done with it. And, but I wouldn't be so picky as to determine which office I was going to work from.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the whatever somebody wants to offer me.
Yep.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
I mean, you think about, the salary, the benefits, the opportunities, the trajectory. Is that worth you not taking the job and staying home? So Augustine, hello everyone. Please, is the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate and Professional Exam Guide enough to pass the SAP 2 exams? Thanks.
I would recommend reading the book. I would recommend watching our online course. I would recommend reading the AWS white papers from the AWS website. I would recommend reading AWS documentation, and I would recommend getting a practice test. But that's how I would approach any test. I would always go to the manufacturer who makes the test. I would read their documentation, and then I would read a book on it, and then I would watch a course on it, and I would do all three together. And if I didn't understand something in the book and the course and the documentation, I'd go look that up until I felt good about it. And then I would take a practice test, and when I could easily score over 95%, I'd be sure I was going to pass the exam, and then I would go take it.
All right, next one is, how does one remain consistent with following your plan, especially during times when the morale is low? So I want to start with this one. So I think the first thing is figuring out what healthily increases your morale. And
Good
by
point.
healthily, I mean, I'm down, let me get on Facebook and just scroll and scroll and scroll. That's not healthy. That might improve some people's morale just because it gets them out of thinking about what got them down, but that's not healthy. So just some general things that help people improve their morale: go outside. Just going outside actually improves people's morale, especially if you're in a highly developed area. Being outside around nature, go find a tree and hang around the tree, maybe talking with people, just going out and interacting with people, calling a friend, calling a relative, just having a conversation with other people. But I think it's important to figure out what it is that improves your morale in a healthy way, and then bottling that improved morale up, and then going and tackling that thing that got you down. Because that's kind of that's what we're talking about here. You're gonna be hitting those obstacles, and they're gonna get you down. You got to have the right mindset. And so to get yourself in that right mindset, you have to improve your morale in a good way, in a healthy way, and in a constructive way. So I'd like to hear what Mike and Alonzo have to say to this, because this is the if there is a crux to this entire conversation, this is it.
In fact, I'm going to dive deeper on this. First, if someone says their morale is low, it often means they're depressed. So we have to determine if the person is really depressed or if they just lack enthusiasm. And they need to go see a physician for that. Because there's a lot of people that have untreated depression, and if it's not managed, can accomplish nothing. So first, we have to make sure there's no medical issue. Then we need to look at how someone spends their time. Are they watching the news? If they're watching the news constantly, they're always going to be depressed, because the news is going to put anybody in a depressed mood. I did some mental training from some Navy SEALs many years ago, and they wouldn't let you watch the news because it was biased towards negativity. Then, how are you spending your time? Are you spending your time with people that are not successful, that are all struggling, that are going to rub off on you? Or are you spending your time with successful people? It's like a cold. If you don't want to cut a cold, don't hang out with people that have colds or are sick. Hang out with healthy people. When I catch a case of the poverty, they say hang around with people that are poor. When I catch a case of the wealth, start spending your time with wealthy people. Find out what they do, learn what they do. So there's that around you. And then look at your time and look what's good for you. Again, like Chris says, that motivates you. For me, workouts motivate me. So when I did my CCIE, I would read 10 pages and do 25 push-ups. And that way, at the end of the day, if I'd read 500 pages, I did a whole lot of push-ups. And it kept me moving, so I didn't feel like I was just sitting there and that was my reward. But I'm a physical guy. What is that reward? Is it a cheeseburger? I don't care. Once you accomplish something along the way, but celebrate each victory. Take a plan, make a step, celebrate it. Make the next step, celebrate it. But the key is just to keep going. And it's okay if periodically you need to take a day off or two to refocus your mind and get to your goal. That's fine. But get back and get back to it fast and hard. And that's okay too. So it's any plan like this, and I don't care what career it is. If you wanted to be a physician, you wanted to be an attorney, you wanted to be an airplane pilot, it's going to be a struggle. Heck, when I became a paramedic, I may have scored one of the state's highest scores on the written exam. But let me tell you, figuring out how to tape somebody to a board or start the IV and make sure I got that IV every time, that's where it kind of got complicated. So nothing easy comes to all of us. It's a matter of learning the right thing for the right reason for the right time. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, but keep going. Find out, make sure you're happy, and find something happy, healthy. Like Chris said, healthy might not be drinking a bottle of scotch. I recommend that. I can pretty much tell you that's not healthy. But, healthy might be a 30-minute meditation or a yoga practice. It might be going for a walk. It could be me picking up my cat Cindy and sitting with my cat Cindy for 5 minutes until she squirms and runs away. Just find that thing that makes you happy. And I do like sitting with my cat Cindy, by the way.
One thing that I know will make Chris happy is a lifetime supply of Coke Zero. That would get him incredibly enthused. But the great thing these guys spoke, Olu, is that, when morale is low, think about where you want to be. Think about who's around who's in your environment that may be a source of your negativity. Is it internal, external? Do that assessment, man. Think about why it's low and find those places. Like Mike said, physically go outside, start surrounding yourself with the people you need to be around that helps push you forward, not hold you back. There may be some times where people who are, I've never seen a bigger motivator than someone who's afraid to lose the people that are in the same position that they are in. They don't want to grow. They don't want to stay this. They want to stay the same, but they want you to do the same thing because misery loves company. Start thinking about your environment and what's toxic about it and start to eliminate those issues and stay focused on your goal, okay?
Right.
From Diggleman, how do you stay patient in times of adversity? I like to stay focused on my goals. Like I said before, a vision board. If stuff I've had days where everything that could go wrong did go wrong and a little bit extra. But always remember that those times are short-lived. They're not permanent. They're just temporary. So never do or apply a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Always look for the brighter days. Always look for tomorrow it's going to be better. The next hour could be better. The next week is going to be better. Refer to your vision board on what you're looking for to be able to meet your needs and your goals and your aspirations. Focus on that positive. Never focus on where you are right now. Only time you do that is to come up with solutions to beat that problem back. Whatever that adversity is it in a person? Sidestep them, eliminate them from your life. Is it someone that's in your family? Start being able to navigate those negative situations that are not benefiting your overall mental health. There's a lot of different things. We don't know what that adversity is, but always stay focused. That adversity, never let it invade your mind. Okay, what is that saying, gentlemen? Where it's not the 90% of what happens. No, it's not the 10% of what happens to you. It's that 90% of how you deal with it. Okay. Right. So no matter what you're going through, always stay positive, always stay focused on the positive side, the other side of this adversity, which will be that victory. Keep going on that, Diggleman.
All right. So our next one is going to have a couple of parts. So just let me read them out.
Okay.
So, is it easier to look for an internship job first? I mean, learning the solution architect, I have a paid course I'm studying at the moment. And I was just saying or asking, is it best to go for an internship in solution architect since most companies won't take us without experience?
Okay, so Kenzie, I'm going to go through three things. Worst, I have students at AWS, Azure, IBM, Cisco, Palo Alto, Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, JP Morgan Chase Bank, British Broadcasting Company, and they've all hired people without experience. So first, they can if you have the right skills. Secondly, what's in a solution architect certification has absolutely nothing to do with the job. I mean, zero. What's in a certification is the name of an AWS service and how to configure it. And what do? We perform business optimization through technology design. They're not even related, and that's why we have our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Certification takes about 5 to 8 hours, and we spend 700 hours training it. Now let's talk about why you can't get an internship as a solution architect. And AWS does have some internships. They're called associate architects. Basically what happens is they hire a bunch of kids, like 10 or 15 each year, fresh out of school, people without skills that they pay like $70,000 to $100,000 a year, and they train them and turn them into architects. And if they can't become an architect, they fire them, like if they don't graduate. So that is more difficult to get than a job if you actually took our training program and got it. Why can't I bring you in as a solution architect for an internship? Let's pretend Alonzo's my customer, and I'm going to go visit my customer Alonzo for a $100 million deal, meaning bringing in $100 million to our company, and my intern says something wrong. I just lost $100 million. Now, if I've got an intern, I need to supervise somebody, those interns, because interns won't even know where to begin. So now I've got to dedicate a $300,000 rep to now teach 4 interns. Guess what? I'm now spending $80,000 per year per intern, and no company is going to do that. So the key is there are no internships, and that's why I created the Go Cloud Careers Cloud Architect Career Development Program. I retrain everybody from everybody else's paid solution architect training, because the training which teaches hands-on configuration is not what architects do. Architects design a solution, present a solution, sell a solution, negotiate a solution, manage stakeholders, deliver presentations, deliver executive briefings, and all those things. So what I want you to do is download the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job, and it'll give you a list of 100% of the skills that you need to learn. And join us on Thursday for the free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. And then we'll tell you the exact set of skills, and you'll understand why getting one of these jobs has nothing to do with certification. Certification will get you an interview, but it won't get you hired. And I've interviewed thousands of AWS certified people, and none of them knew anything about cloud architecture.
All right. So we have now reached the end of our show. So I want to invite Alonzo, if he's got any last words on this, and then ask Mike to wrap it up about how to be successful and how to build that elite tech career. I'd love to hear your last words, gentlemen. And also, you can also join us tomorrow here on YouTube at the same time, 2:00 Eastern time. Tomorrow, we will be taking any career questions that you may have. We set aside time every Wednesday for that. So we look forward to seeing you then as well. So Alonzo and then Mike, I'll let you guys share your last words.
Okay, one of the things, I'll be really brief. Number one, believe in yourself. Even if you don't have one to believe in you, you start with yourself, okay? Because that is where all the peace is, where all the hopes and dreams originate from. Now we're going to project that and plan it into the real world. Execute your plan from the goals you want to be all the way back. Eliminate all the obstacles if you can, and refer back to the first thing if things get out of hand or you have anxiety. But never quit, never stop believing in yourself, and reach your goals. I couldn't stress that anymore. Mike?
Well, a couple of things. One is getting the right skills. There's a question in that chat box: should I learn Scrum? Well, I don't know. If you want to be an architect, please, I beg you, do not learn Scrum. It's going to make me think you're more of a project manager than an architect, and it's going to take you further away from the job by learning all these things that aren't related to the job. And if I want an airplane pilot, I hire an airplane pilot. I don't care how many years somebody's been a flight attendant and how many certifications they have in airplane mechanics and dog walking and something. So learn the right skills. That's the one thing. Now, if the person wants to be a project manager, it might be a great certification. So learn the right skills. How do you get the right skills? Don't ask people that don't know. And don't look at a job description, because I've yet to see a job description in the last 25 years of my tech career that was actually worth something. Ask the people in the company what they do in their jobs. Don't ask an associate architect. They don't know anything. They don't know what they don't know. They're still a trainee. That's an intern. Don't ask a regular solution architect. Don't even ask a senior solution architect, because some of my people get those jobs with no experience. Ask a distinguished architect, a principal architect, a VP of architecture, somebody that's been successful. Ask 50 of them. Then you'll have your list of skills. So we did. We asked hundreds of them. But ask them. Learn the right skills. It doesn't serve a physician well to learn law. They're not lawyers. It doesn't serve an architect to learn DevOps. It doesn't help an architect to learn the code. It doesn't help an architect to learn maintenance or sysops. It takes you out of the focus of system design and into the focus of building. We're not builders. We're system designers and problem solvers. It's the wrong skills. 3, realize you can do anything you want as long as you have the skills. So know what those skills are and fight to get those skills. I may say fight, and here's the reason why. I promise you, everybody is going to have challenge with something. I personally had a very hard time learning how to tie my shoes when I was younger. They always fell apart. Other people picked it up in 5 minutes. It took me 6 months to figure out how to tie my shoes, but I kept at it until I learned how to do it. Now I can do it, believe me. But, for me, BGP came in 5 minutes. For other people, it comes in 5 years or 5 weeks or 5 months. It doesn't matter. Just give it all until you get to your goal. Surround yourself with people that are successful and learn from them. Don't surround yourself with people who are unsuccessful, because you'll learn from them. And here's the reality. Successful people have patterns of behavior and habits that make them successful. People that are typically unsuccessful either typically have a personality issue, an emotional intelligence issue, or they make bad decisions. I don't want you to learn bad decisions. I want you to learn good decisions. And success doesn't necessarily mean money. Success could be the gold medal in a sporting event. It could be the person that's elected the team leader. It could be just someone that's an expert at their field, like the best bird watcher. I don't care. Just the point is go after it and go after your dreams. And when you find your dreams, keep going until you get there. And yes, there will be obstacles along the way. And here's what you do to the obstacle. You adapt to the obstacle, you improvise a solution to the obstacle, and you overcome that obstacle. Somehow I feel like we need an oorah after that, but that's neither here nor there. And in the end, go be successful. Tell us about your success. I know when I watch my students successful, it gets to me emotionally, because I know what it was like to fight for things, whether the ability to fight to walk, to get that first job so I no longer had to have 2.5 full-time jobs to support my family, or to see my clients grow and get big 250 and 300. And we had a client that got a $409,000 job last year, which was over a $250,000 raise. That was a celebration for me, because that changed their life and it changed it forever. So, and lastly, find out why it matters to you. You can't keep fighting unless it matters. You need to know why. That's why the security guard at the mall doesn't care if you're stealing anything. They're getting paid very little, and they just don't care. Now, break into a lion's den and try and steal their cub. I promise you that lion is going to care, and it's going to be a much bigger challenge. So please don't hurt the lion. They're beautiful, sweet animals anyway. But, keep that in the back of your mind. So that's what I would say.
Right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and make sure you join us tomorrow if you've got any career questions at 2:00 Eastern time. We'll be right here on YouTube. And if you want to join our webinar on Thursday, you can join us at 1:00 Eastern time on Thursday as well. Have a great day, everybody.